Come today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. The USA puts tariffs on apparently everyone, just about everyone. Not really, but we'll dive into that more in a bit. The UK wants Apple to be their personal spy network. Microsoft is making Windows 11 less accessible. And I think I have completely cracked the exact reason why there are no Nvidia cards. All that and more come today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Go to bury this Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Covering the news this week is weird. You want to know why it's weird? Ask anyone who actually pays attention to the news on a daily basis. You want to know how you know you've found someone who does pay attention to the news on a daily basis? They are exhausted these past couple of weeks, and they have lost all perception of time. Because there seems to be freaking breaking political news in some way, shape, or form every 15 minutes as something is proposed or allegedly proposed or claimed to be proposed, then retracted, then actually proposed. Then you find out something that was proposed actually wasn't proposed, but then was proposed later on. And it is just an absolute nightmare, which brings us to the first bit of news, which technically isn't tech news, but it does affect a lot of technology. And that is the tariffs being put on all imports from Mexico, China, and Canada, of which only 2/3 of these tariffs I understand why. I'm not going to even pretend I understand why we are tariffing our friends to the north, but apparently we are now. But then a bunch of them were rescinded. And in fact, there was some that were put into place in China that now were taken away because they then activated a bunch of other existing tariffs, which then would have made pretty much all stuff from China cost almost double. That lasted roughly 12 hours, allegedly, and then we retracted. And you start to get the feeling of why keeping track of this stuff is near impossible, especially for a once a week news podcast. I mean, here's what I'll say right now. Everything I just said by tomorrow could be completely different. I have no idea, because this news is moving that fast. So before you go ahead and say, oh, well, my guy on the interwebs went ahead and said that this was put into place there, there's a decent chance it's not anymore, especially since I strongly believe that these are less about trying to, what was the BS excuse used? Revitalize the economy? I don't believe they're here to revitalize the economy. I believe they're here as a bargaining chip. They're trying to go ahead and get something out of Canada, Mexico, and China. I can figure out what they want to get out of Mexico and China. I have no idea what they want to get out of Canada other than some extra maple syrup. Your guess is as good as mine. Welcome to politics. Nobody knows what's going on, but the fact that these tariffs are in fact in place do affect quite a lot of other news, including companies like ASRock contemplating about shifting manufacturing. Now, one of the reasons that was claimed to be why the tariffs were put into place against China was to promote manufacturing to move to the US. However, ASRock is instead looking to move their manufacturing to somewhere else other than China. Man, if that was the plan with the tariffs, man, that didn't go nearly as well as it did in your head, huh? But these are the kind of moves that major companies are now making because of these tariffs. And it's going to be affecting a lot. Like, I try to go ahead and just not mention a lot of politics on here, mostly just because it is a tech podcast, not a politics-based one. But you see how you can't ignore it in this case. But man, wait until later on when we get to GPUs and how these tariffs are going to affect that. Because already we have $2,000 Nvidia GPUs from Nvidia themselves. Imagine all the the board partners that manufacture their cards in China. Yeah, those $2,000 cards are going to get more expensive, which is going to make them even less of a deal-worthy card than they were already. Someone in chat says apparently people were illegally crossing the border from Canada, and Canada's refusing to take them back. If that's the case, then I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny whatever that is. Like I said, I don't know. I cannot confirm any of it. That, and look at the news case. Good luck trying to find confirmation or proof against for that fact. But yeah, ASRock is going to go ahead and try to move their manufacturing operations outside of China. I wonder how many more are going to try and do this, because ASRock doesn't exactly make expensive stuff. Their stuff's very cheap. They want to go ahead and make sure their costs stay as low as possible. What if you're a more expensive board? Can you absorb the higher cost tariffs? Because the tariffs are going to be percentage based. It's something to consider in all this. I would not be surprised at all if we see ASRock's parent company, Asus, also follow suit. If companies like Gigabyte or MSI also look to try and move their manufacturing elsewhere. So for now, all I have to do, wait and see how it goes. At least maybe that means that there'll at least be one company that'll have some relatively cheap stuff out there. But shifting gears a little bit, the tariffs being put on to China is also to try and put the pinch on them a little bit as they try to have megacorps just try to get into everything. And by they, I mean China, such as, you know, the company ByteDance, who has just put out a new AI model that is making quite possibly the best AI generated videos yet. This is still in the research and development department, but the early reports of this thing, if true, and this is the big thing, if true, can lead to AI generated videos that cannot be detected at all. That to the human eye, they look identical to man-made videos. You know what the scary part is? This could very well be either BS or true. Like, there are moments where AI just gets spot on. Like, they are scary good stuff. Would it surprise me at all that a big company like ByteDance has cracked the code, especially considering how much AI generated nonsense is already on their platform? It wouldn't surprise me at all. Would it all surprise you that they're full of hot air and are actually have a AI model here that produces hot garbage that you can obviously tell is fake from the get-go? Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either, especially considering the result we normally get from AI. For now, though, all we can do is wait and see how it all goes. But it's always just a thing to consider that this new model, Omni-Human 1, might, in fact, be something we hear about in the future. So clearly with all this, we got issues in the West, we got issues in the East. What about the middle? How are things going across the other pond? Well, the UK allegedly has demanded that Apple should decrypt and give unfettered access to all encrypted Apple accounts to go ahead and create a backdoor into Apple's stored encrypted database for all of their users. Just in case you thought that the US could get a little too creepy, uncle, or Google could be quite a bit of a spyware machine, or that China, who has proven to be quite the big brother government. The UK was just like, you know, that whole big brother thing, that's a really cool idea. Let's get in on that. I'm not gonna lie. My bros over in Great Britain, all right? My friends in the UK, the gentlemen across the pond. No. Bad. No biscuit. Stop that. Just no. I don't know why you think this is a cool thing to do, but no. Abso-freaking-lutely not. This could very easily start an international incident if this was gone through on, if this actually is going on. This is not okay, because the UK is trying to go ahead and get data on literally every single Apple user in the world. That is what they're talking about here. It's crazy. No, Apple should not comply with this. And quite frankly, I think everyone else, I think every other major country should be concerned with this sort of stuff, because this is kind of a big yikes. I know the UK is no longer part of the EU, but I thought the whole thing over there in Europe was concern about the citizens' privacy. I thought that was a major concern. Was that not why countless consumer protection data acts were put through, both by the UK and the EU at large? Like, this is a little crazy. This is a little insane. But I guess the UK is just going to do what the UK is going to do. Go for it, I guess, and see what happens. But that's not to say the US is free of their crazy ideas either. No, if you want to go ahead and use, actually someone in chat just said that UK has been Big Brother for a while now, based on what, you know what, actually now that the person in chat says it, I am very suddenly reminded of all of the Twitter posts of like Great Britain officers being very, very anti-freedom of speech, being very, very being very much like thought police to an extreme degree. I do recall a whole bunch of law enforcement from the UK trying to go ahead and say, like, you cannot go ahead and make fun of the UK on Twitter. Yeah, I can. You're not going to successfully extradite someone for saying that things you're doing across the pond look really dumb. That's not going to happen. So, you know what, on that boat, yeah, it does actually sound pretty on par. Meanwhile, though, if you want to go ahead and use DeepSeek, whether it be the online version or the open source version, a lawmaker here in the US is pushing forward a bill that could force you to face $1 million fine and prison time, all because the app poses a security, privacy, and ethical concern. Boy, you know, it's hard for me to disagree with some of that, but let me tell you something. If you're going to go after DeepSeek for ethical concerns, clearly that means you're talking about the fact that allegedly DeepSeek went ahead and used OpenAI data to train itself. To which, here's my counterpoint. Look at all the data that OpenAI trained itself on. How much of the data that OpenAI got was ethically collected? How much of the data that was collected by pretty much every single large language model out there was ethically collected? I'm sorry, but if your whole thing is going to be security and privacy concerns, which granted, very legitimate. I have another story. Someone's trying to link me, I think, the exact story I have coming up. Yeah. Is it the same source? It's not the same source, but it is the same story. The security and privacy issues, yes, are a big deal. The ethical concerns, bro, if that's how we're going to draw the line, you're going to end up putting a large fine on all of AI, which I simultaneously support and also dread, because AI is being so forcefully integrated into all of our platforms that it's too easy to accidentally use AI. I'm just saying. The ethical concern, not exactly the rabbit hole you want to go down if you want to try and just get only DeepSeek. You're going to end up with some other collateral damage, which, not going to lie, totally in favor of. Can you tell I'm not a fan of generative AI? Is it that obvious? Meanwhile, though, DeepSeek, which also prompted the pushing of the law, it's been discovered the app is transmitting sensitive user data and device data without encryption to a mother server in China. All right, real quick, raise your hand if you're surprised by this. Are you raising your hand yet? Okay, put it down. We don't need to know. Yeah, no, this is painfully obvious. Like we knew from the get-go that DeepSeek was going to send data back. The shocking thing is that it's sending it unencrypted. So not only is it a security risk because you're sending who knows what data, and it's confirmed that it's data that DeepSeek should not have access to, because it's sending more than just the query and analytics data about the user. No, it's sending device data. It is sending other data that the app should not have access to, and it's sending it unencrypted for anyone who is sniffing the traffic to see in plain text. That is actually a security nightmare. It's insane. That's crazy. The fact that DeepSeek is spying on things, that's not surprising. It's a Chinese AI app. I expect it. The fact that it's transmitting data poorly is the part that is absolutely shocking. But welcome to the world of generative AI, where the data is made up and how it's getting there doesn't matter. Someone in chat said it's funny that government employees were caught using DeepSeek. It's not surprising at all. Some of them are probably assigned to go ahead and test it out and see what it's doing, only for then this breach of information to go ahead and go, yep, we caught you red-handed, because this thing tattletailed. And then all we could do is just look at it and just shake our heads. Just shake our heads. That's it. On the bright side, ChatGPT search is now available to all users, even to those users without an account. So if you love the reliability of generative AI and you want to use that to search, go for it? ? Well, I mean, good luck. That's pretty much all I can say about that. I mean, what else do we really expect out of OpenAI in all this? Meanwhile, though, Microsoft is going ahead and cracking down on people trying to upgrade to Windows 11 on unsupported hardware. All the blog posts trying to tell people how to bypass the hardware requirements have been pulled. But as of this time, the methods of bypassing the hardware requirements are in fact still in place. So you still could technically do it if you do not have a Trusted Platform Module 2.0 on your computer. Honestly, if you have like a decently high-end computer and it just can't run Windows 11, or you don't want to run Windows 11, I'm not gonna lie, jumping ship and joining the Linux game looks more and more and more attractive. I would just once again recommend, if you're gonna go that route like I plan on it, definitely ease into it. Partition your hard drive or have a separate hard drive that has the Linux OS on it and slowly migrate into it. Don't just jump in cold turkey, because man, that could be a disaster. But you know, it's up to you. You have until the end of this year to switch over to Windows 11, or it gets, you know, extended again, which would not surprise us at all. Sony had a bad weekend. The PlayStation Network, the PSN, was down almost the entire weekend. The PSN was down for almost a full 24 hours. And right now we have no idea what it is, other than we're fairly certain it wasn't a hack. That's all we know. It wasn't a hack. But other than that, no one knows why the PSN was out for almost a full day. Okay. You want to guess why? I think I know exactly why the PSN was down. It's 3 words. If anyone wants to try and guess what I'm thinking. It's actually relatively simple when you think about it. Because there is a certain something that started this Friday around the time before the PSN went down. It starts with an M, rhymes with Monster Hunter Wilds. It was the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. I am fully convinced the servers were overloaded by so many people trying to download Monster Hunter Wilds all at the same time that it basically DDoSed the servers and no one could get on. I fully expect that to end up being the reason, because they're already ruling out hack. So most likely it is not anything malicious. At the same time, The most obvious answer is most likely the correct one. Well, you have a big game coming out for its beta. It's right there in plain sight. You know, it might be it. Just maybe, overloaded server might in fact be the correct answer. Right now, the PSN is up and running again. Sony has not made a proper statement as to what caused it to go down. I imagine we're going to get an answer probably on Monday, but we'll have to wait and see what we get. We're going to take our first and probably only break here. When we come back, I want to get into Nvidia and what the heck is going on with the lack of cards coming out of Nvidia. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. We talked about this a bit last week, but just an update on it. Yeah, it's still bad. The RTX 5080 and 5090 are just unavailable anywhere. And people are saying that the restock could take months. You want to know what my thoughts are on this? Because here's the thing, okay? Just about every single savvy consumer out there has no intention of buying a $2,000 or $1,000 GPU. Okay? Just about nobody is doing that. Here's what my theory is. They are intentionally keeping the stock low. And they have every incentive for their gaming cards to have the stock being low. Because here's what this does. By keeping the stock low of gaming cards, it is tricking everyone into believing that these cards are in demand, despite the fact the 5090 is barely better than a 4090, and the 5080 is not a significant improvement at all over a 4080. Generation to generation, these two cards suck. And the 40 series was almost as bad compared to the 30 series. By that math on paper, there is no reason, unless there is a feature that you really want, to upgrade from even a 30 series to a 50 series. There just isn't. But the marketing says there's a significant upgrade because they can triple the FPS because of the AI frame gen or the multi-frame gen. Which people are showing that, in fact, the multi-frame gen is not great. For those who don't understand what multi-frame gen is, imagine this. Normally, a graphic card draws out every single frame of the game 60 times every second. Okay? Frame gen instead generates, as the card generates half the frames the traditional way, and every other frame, the AI component of the card guesses what the next frame will be. And it usually gets extremely close. However, multi-frame gen now takes us to a new extreme. For every one normally drawn frame, there are up to 3 AI generated frames. And again, they get very close, but here's the thing. They are guessing based off the previous frame. So any sort of mistakes that the AI does between actual rendered frames is then compounded upon by up to 3 frames before you are jarringly yanked back into reality with a real drawn frame. And in reality, it doesn't seem that odd. It just feels a little wonky. Maybe a straight line curves a little bit before returning back to a straight line in a fraction of a second. You know, little things like that. And those sort of things can get obnoxious. They can get jarring. They can be disorienting. But that's what the 50 cards bring. That's all they bring. So the people who are buying them are one of 3 people. They are either scalpers who believe there is a demand and want to exploit that. There are the people that are several generations behind and the upgrade to a 50 series makes sense. Or they are suckers that bought into Nvidia's marketing and believe that their 5080 is going to be able to get 200 frames a second, when in reality it's going to get 50. But there's no skepticism with that, right? You think, whoa, it gets 200 frames a second. Well, that has to be true because they're out of stock everywhere. Why would they be out of stock if that wasn't true? That'd be crazy. It feeds into itself. The stock of these cards is near nothing. Launch shipments had stores that only sell computer parts only have 5 GPUs. 5 for the entire store that services tens to hundreds of thousands of customers. 5. That's all they got. See how all of a sudden it's a win-win for Nvidia? And I didn't even get to what do they gain then by only making a handful? What's in it for Nvidia besides, the public perception of it? Well, now that silicon, instead of going to a gaming card, can now go to an enterprise AI card for a data center. It's a win-win for Nvidia to go ahead and slow walk the production of these cards. Because let's be honest, right now, if you want a brand new next-gen GPU, what are your options? What are your options at the high end? There's the 5090, the 5080, and the being flipped off. There's no answer from AMD yet. This is the perfect chance for AMD to really go ahead and sock it to Nvidia, especially since DeepSeek went ahead and proved to the AI space that you don't need the latest and greatest. I'd say Intel could, but Intel can barely keep up in the low end. They need to keep doing what they can do, but they're not ready to compete with the 5090 or the 5080. Not even close yet. And then you have the board partners. The board partners who are in a weird spot because Nvidia is charging them an arm and a leg for the GPU. The board partner has to go ahead and try to make their cards a compelling argument to buy them instead of the Founders Edition. And then on top of that, you have the tariffs, which has caused prices of MSI and Asus cards to go up by nearly $400. At least that's what people want you to think. Here's the thing. $400 does match up for what the tariff price increase would be for the RTX 5090. It does not match up for the 5080. The 5080 going up by $400 is literally MSI and Asus price gouging. Just straight up. This is what Nvidia has brought us to. What do you do when things are too expensive? Price gouge. What do you do when there's not enough of a thing? Price gouge. And we've already seen this behavior at MSI. Now Asus is getting in on it. Why? Because they can. Where else are you going to go? And the worst part is they have the cover of the freaking tariffs to go ahead and do it. Even though the math doesn't check out for this level of a hike for something like the RTX 5080. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? Thanks, MSI and Asus. I mean, I cannot stress enough that skipping this generation might in fact be one of the smarter decisions to do right now. Even more so, there is a driver issue going on right now with the 5090 and 5090D GPUs, where if you update the driver, there is a good chance your GPU, your $2,000 plus GPU you just bought and managed to fight tooth and nail to get, will be a very pretty brick. Wow. Incredible. Yeah, just stick to what you got. That's like the best advice I can give. You don't need a new GPU, don't get one. It just right now does not make sense at freaking all. But maybe that'll change. There's some rumors that we might be seeing the RTX 5060 and 5060 Ti in March. Maybe we'll see some good performance per dollar there. Right? Please let that be right. All we can do for that one is wait and see. In other oddball news, though, Apple is apparently prototyping a tabletop robot. They'll have the movements of a lamp and also the body of a lamp. Basically, it sounds like they're trying to make the lamp from the Pixar logo. Unsure at this time if it means that the lamp will go ahead and stomp out the letter I for you or not, but we'll be keeping an eye on that just in case. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't think this sort of product is going to see the light of day. I think this is just like a rumor that it might be happening. I don't think Apple's working on anything of the sort, but, you know, I've been surprised by Apple before. Maybe they actually are, but I, not going to lie, I kind of doubt it. We'll have to wait and see. Another thing I also kind of doubt, but we have proof of it, is Doom running on an Apple Lightning to HDMI adapter. What? Are you kidding me? There actually was a slew of various things that are now able to run Doom, including a PDF and a Word document that can run Doom inside it. But this one's in a special category because it is literally the control chip inside the dongle running Doom and connecting to a controller via the control chip going through the lightning connector. This is something special. Just when you thought you've seen it all, hey, look, there's Doom running on a cable, not through a cable, on a cable. Well, kudos to them. That's what else can you say to that? It's just, yep, they got Doom to run on a cable. And finally, I give you the last bird, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, a tattoo given by a 3D printer. A new 3D printer will go ahead and let you get any tattoo you want just by strapping your body into the printer, and then the head will come down and automatically inject the ink into the skin, all via machine. Now, I've never gotten a tattoo. I know very little about getting a tattoo. I do know is administered by needles, and that takes a lot of practice for a tattoo artist to get done what they want to get done. So to go ahead and just have a machine do it, considering that all surfaces of the human body are different and there is very little consistency in that regard, good luck. That's all I can say. And I'm willing to bet this is going to go very poorly. And if this was me, I would absolutely not do it. But, you know, you got to go ahead and do you. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. I know today was a short episode, but I'm not going to lie. A lot of it ended up on the cutting room table just because a lot of the news was kind of invalidated by the fact that the tariff news changed so quickly and rapidly. Hopefully next week will be less chaotic, but for now I will just say, if you like what you hear, be sure to go ahead and follow us on Spotify and check out my other works, youtube.com/EagleFalcon and twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Want to spend a little bit more time promoting that because this episode was in fact a very, very short one. Take care, and I hope you have a great day. All right, before we close up shop officially, I do actually have a little bit of breaking news on the Sony outage. That is, in fact, that Sony has made an issue, or has issued a statement on the PSN outage. They are saying that it was an operational issue, and they are, in fact, offering PlayStation Plus members a gift. So if you do have a PS Plus membership, keep an eye out for said gift, whatever that may be. It better be some credit back for the outage. The other thing I'd like to say is, the tattoo with the 3D printer is cool and all, but hear me out. Run Doom on the 3D printed tattoo. You think running Doom on a cable is a weird flex? How about I run Doom on my thigh? That, my friend, that is a very, very weird flex. And quite frankly, one that I would say is impossible, but if there's one thing I never doubt, it's the Doom community's ability to make anything, including a human thigh, run Doom.